All right. Video vlog number 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So video vlog number 4. So for today, one thing that I wanted to share with you guys is I kind of talked about a little bit about the script and script writing and those sort of things. For day 4, one thing I thought I would talk to you guys about to give you a little bit of an idea of the planning that goes in this. And that it's not something, and anytime if you're starting any kind of business venture or idea, it's if you're heading down that path, the whole point of business is there is risk. There's no doubt there's risk involved in any type of business endeavor. And then on top of it, when you're adding in your own creative expression and view and those ideas into a particular artwork, and can add a little bit more risk into it. Now, we certainly happen to be in a time frame where crowdfunding can be very useful and very helpful to not only establishing an artist amongst sort of a core fan group, but it can also help connect the artist to a patron or a crowd fund in a way that really hasn't been done before, where comic books have had down a path of relying on one distributor, which from a business model standpoint I just don't flat out understand, but from the standpoint of being able to crowdfund your work is exciting. It's appealing. So there's a lot that can be very positive about that. Now, with that being said, I think the other part of any kind of business venture is it requires a degree of planning, a degree of developing not only the idea, but coming up with a roadmap. Now, obviously, we can't anticipate, if we're driving down the road and there's construction, we have to take a big detour, and then, there's a snowstorm at the same time, and then a hurricane. We can't predict all the possibilities of what could happen that would ultimately keep us from point A to going to point B. Now, with that being said, I have on my screen right now, and just to kind of talk through it, because it is proprietary information of how I go about dissecting that or planning out my roadmap. Now, with that being said, I think there are some simple things that I could express to you guys. From an artist standpoint, having an idea or being able to develop a expense sheet, develop a budget. All of those two things are so crucial so that you're not doing two things, wasting money and wasting time. Now, as artists, we want to be creative and we want to dive into things and go down, rabbit holes. But from the standpoint of remaining viable, from a standpoint of remaining in the black, so to speak, and not in the red, from an accounting point of view, it can be something that can make or break an artist. And the artists that survive are the artists that are able to understand this aspect of the business. You can certainly, if you can get out there and get your work out there and get it to a point where you're meeting deadlines and that's fantastic. But the other side to that will maintain your work to in a longevity perspective is these sort of things. So having an expense sheet. So just kind of give you an idea of the things that we're looking at. So what we did was we came up with a full expense sheet, and it includes all sorts of things of where you're printing it, through possible cost of the cost of not only printing it, but then also the shipping that would be required to ship it to you, especially if you're shipping it from a company, either in most of the printing companies that aren't necessarily on demand, but if you're going to do, let's say, a small print of 1,000 prints, you're still going to need, that still cost a decent amount, a couple grand, to be able to do that and ship that to you. And more than likely, it's coming from overseas somewhere. And then on top of it, you're looking at a roughly about 6-week wait time before that gets from the date the order happens to the date that it gets placed at your door. So those are kind of some of the logistic things, but also like you have like copyright, or if you're going to copyright a character, how much is that going to cost? Mailing supplies, random things like stickers, business cards, kind of kitsch things that you might put into the packaging. Comic book wrap with the cardboard, the cardboard backing. All of those things are important to help build your brand and your artwork from a comic book perspective, but they're also crucial and very important, because if suddenly you do a crowdfunding and you think, I think I'm going to go for 30 grand or 30K or whatever that is, and then you don't have a well laid out plan, you have like 1,000 backers or whatever that is, and you had a fantastic time raising all the funds that you needed. But if you don't have a plan, you're more than likely going to end up in the red, where you're going to be owing money and going, oh my gosh, and I get a credit card, and then suddenly going into debt and all those sort of things. So having a plan will be so crucial. Having a website, not only is it cost shipping from the publisher, but then shipping from you to the patron, as well as if you're going to do t-shirts. I mentioned kitsch. If you have like separate artists, pencilers, all those sort of things, supplies, don't forget the taxes, either state tax or federal tax that is required for you to, are obligated to do, as well as, each crowdfunding website has their own set fees and those sort of things. So having an idea of all those sort of things is so crucial. Now you're like, okay, I lost you at expense sheet, Elijah. I as an artist, I don't want to do this. Like, I get it, man. I really do get it. But I just write, and I'm probably just preaching to the choir in a lot of ways, but I hopefully this is helpful for you guys, because I think it's important to have a well laid out plan, so you can just have an idea of how many expenses you're going to have. Obviously, it's a map. You can't predict the future to exact degree, but you can give yourself some room to be able to make decisions that will ultimately benefit you in the long run, which is the cool part, to ultimately produce more books or whatever that product might be, and then be able to pass it on to, continue it on, because our plan is to continue this idea, whether we're able to raise this amount of money or not. We're able to use this as a learning tool, ultimately to evolve into the next one, which would be in the fall. So there's a lot of pieces, and hopefully you found this really informative, this day 4 vlog, of just being sure to lay out all the possibilities of your big idea of what you're trying to do, and the different tiers or the perks that each backer, based upon whatever they would contribute, what are they getting, what are the kind of the perks, and coming up with a plan to be able to do that. And that will help develop an overall roadmap, as well as kind of a timetable from there of how you're going to execute all this crazy information. Anyway, hope you guys hopefully that makes sense to you guys, and appreciate you guys viewing this. And then do your normal sort of stuff, like subscribe and like and all that sort of good stuff. And then we'll see you guys tomorrow. See ya.
TikvahMinds.com